네가 다니 자다 다세시 나전 너의 헬리 르헬리 사이 아야지 사야기 도리자
to order. And Councilwoman Fulbright, if you can do the honor of the invocation, please. Yeah, here. Well, please stand.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for all the wonderful blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We thank you for the beautiful foliage when we walk outside. We see all the wonderful things that you have made for us. Please help us to remember that we are here to represent the Cherokee people. Give us wisdom. Make us humble. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Fulbright. Before we continue with the roll call, I'd like for everyone to meet Shelley Britton. She's our new legal legislative coordinator. She's responsible for helping draft legislation for codification of all laws. She has a large responsibility in front of her, and she just assumed this responsibility in the last couple of weeks. So I'd like for everybody to give a hand to Ms. Britton. And now roll call.
Bill England.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Julia Coates.
Here.
Bradley Cobb. Joe Crittenden. Cody Fishinghawk.
Here.
Meredith Rayleigh. Here. Janelle Fulbright.
Here.
Don Garvin.
Honey.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
Tina Glory Jordan. Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Soap.
Here.
David Thornton.
Present.
Kara Cowan Watts.
Honey, we have a quorum. So the council people are still coming from the council house. We've had meetings this afternoon, and one of them kind of lasted a while, so they'll be here shortly. Next order of business is approval of the October 15, 2007 regular session minutes.
So moved. Second.
Moved second. Any discussion on the October 15 minutes? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Next order of business is State of the Nation. Principal Chief, Secretary of State Melanie Knight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. The Chief Smith and Deputy Chief Grayson were unable to be here tonight. They're attending National Congress of American Indians in Denver, and it's an honor and privilege to be here before you and to deliver the State of the Nation for November the 13th, 2007. In Denver, Chief Smith and Deputy Chief Grayson are representing the nation and working with other tribal governments. And just a few hours ago, Chief Smith held a press conference at the conference to urge other tribal leaders to make their voices heard in Congress to oppose House Resolution 2824. This bill calls for severed relationships between the U.S. government and the Cherokee Nation. Joe Garcia, who's president of NCAI, stood with Chief Smith today to ask for tribal unity of this issue of sovereignty. Congressional interference in decisions of citizenship is a threat to sovereignty of all tribes. We wish our Cherokee chiefs well and staff as they represent us and our right to determine citizenship in the Cherokee Nation. It has become a tradition for us to honor and recognize each month our fellow Cherokee Nation citizens and special friends who have passed away. In the last month, we've lost many who are dear to us. John Sunday, grandfather of our Nowata Clinic administrator Elton Sunday. Dr. David Paul Marshall, an audiologist for Hastings Hospital. Irene Goodnight, a 23-year employee with community services and water and sanitation departments. Helen Fishinghawk, mother of Rhonda Stanley, who is one of our health department directors. Maurice Sonny Muskrat, who's the father of James Muskrat, who is a Cherokee Nation staff trainer. Please join me in a moment of silence tonight to honor these and others that we have lost. Well, we have two veterans to honor tonight. And what I'd like to ask is that the veterans who are seated on the council to please join me tonight in honoring these two veterans that we have before us. If you would please step forward if you're a veteran. John Albert Candy, a World War II veteran. Mr. Candy was born in Vian, Oklahoma on May 27, 1927, to George and Katie Dykes Candy. Both parents were original enrollees. Mr. Candy entered U.S. Army at Camp Chaffee, Arkansas in 1945. He was sent to Fort Knox, Kentucky for basic training and went through Fort Lewis, Washington, and shipped out from Seattle, Washington for overseas duty. He arrived in Yokohama, Japan, and was sent to Camp Drake near Tokyo, where he spent the rest of his tour training on medium tanks. He was trained to operate the tanks, taught how to repair the tanks, be a gunner, and a gun loader. He returned to the States in 1947 and was discharged for Camp Beale, California in February 1947. In 1949, John married Lydia M. Stand, and they have 5 children. Mr. Candy is retired from the aircraft industry, where he works as a tool and die maker. And I'd like to ask Mr. Candy to please join us and be awarded the Veterans Award. What we have for Mr. Candy is a certificate of a Cherokee Nation veteran, and also a brick on the Veterans Memorial. And I'd like to present these to you tonight, Mr. Candy. Do you have a few words to say to us, Mr. Candy?
Well, I want to thank everybody for this, and it's an honor for me.
We appreciate your service, sir. Our second veteran to honor tonight is a Vietnam War veteran, Mr. Foreman Ross. Mr. Ross was born in 1934 in Kenwood, Oklahoma, to Joseph Ross and Takey Wycliffe Ross. He attended school at Sequoia Vocational School. After graduating, Mr. Ross enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1955, where he served in Vietnam and the Dominican Republic. He retired from the U.S. Army in 1982 after 27 years of service, having served in the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions. He served in the U.S. Special Forces Unit and the Guided Missiles Unit. During the time he served with the Guided Missiles Unit, his unit was assigned to guard New York City and San Francisco. Among Mr. Ross's awards are the Bronze Star, Meritorious Service Medal, CBR Certificate, and Paratrooper Badge. Mr. Ross serves on the Kenwood and Sequoia High School Boards of Education, and he's currently retired from the U.S. Army and resides in Kenwood with his wife, Emma Lou. And Mr. Ross, would you please come forward and allow us to honor you? Do you have a few words to say to us?
I just want to say thank you, responsible for this. Thank everybody.
I want to thank the counselors. The Cherokee Nation is very proud of all its veterans. Once again, we honored our veterans with a ceremony at the Cherokee Warriors Memorial. It was a moving day, and Rogan Noble, who's head of our Veterans Affairs Office, did a great job in organizing the event. It was very touching. The chief recently sent a message recognizing the Human Services Indian Child Welfare Department staff for receiving high marks from both federal and state auditors during recent reviews. The State of Oklahoma audit reflected that ICW was found in full conformance in all 18 areas it assessed. The findings reflect that in 6 of 7 areas assessed, ICW scored 100%. A few of the positive comments from the audit team include: it appears great effort is made to place children with their family whenever possible. It is apparent that great effort is made to keep children connected with the Cherokee culture. Workers are engaging parents in the case planning process. Visitation is occurring on a very regular basis between parents and children. It should be noted that these reviews are rigorous and very difficult to pass. These reviews reflect the dedication of our ICW staff to the protection of Cherokee children and the reunification of families when at all possible. And I'd like to add that Christina Carroll, who's a paralegal in the AG office, is also intimately involved in this and is responsible for some of this success. So I'd like to ask the ICW folks that are here, the staff, to stand and be recognized. And Christina, if you'd also stand. And we'd like to give you a round of applause for the great work. Thank you very much. In announcements, Alice Smith, who's a 20-year devoted employee, retired this month. We want to wish her luck in her future endeavors. Tomorrow, November the 14th, the Cherokee Nation and the city of Collinsville will dedicate the Broadway Bridge. This bridge was condemned 20 years ago and would not have been replaced without the help of Cherokee Nation tribal funds. And the dedication will take place at 3 p.m. in Collinsville, if you'd like to join us there. Sequoia girls basketball team will be playing in the Nike tournament in Phoenix in December, and this will be announced in Cherokee on our local station KEOK, and the audio will be streamed on our website as well. The game dates are December the 19th through the 22nd, and our Cherokee Nation radio show host Dennis Sixkiller will be announcing the event in Cherokee. So please watch for that. Please have a safe and wonderful Thanksgiving next week, and that concludes the State of the Nation for November the 13th, 2007. Thank you.
We've gone down to unfinished business. There being none pending, we'll move to reports. And the first monthly report is the Housing Authority, and I think Gary Cooper is going to report for Mr. Sutherland.
Good evening. It's an honor and privilege to be here. David is out of town. He's attending the Southern Plains Indian Housing Association meeting in Marksville, Louisiana. So he's asked me to come and give his report this evening. I am Gary Cooper, and I work for the Area 1 office here in Tahlequah. We serve Cherokee, Wagner, and Adair counties. The November board meeting for the Housing Authority will be held next Tuesday, the 20th. In the Eileen Hogner conference room at our main office here in Tahlequah. The agenda is pretty short for the meeting. Just to kind of give you an update of where we are, the report tonight is pretty short, and I'll be back tomorrow morning to give you another report at the committee meeting. 2 weeks ago, we received notice from HUD that we were no longer eligible to administer the Section 8 voucher program. HUD has been looking at this issue for the last 18 months and has finally issued a ruling. We expected them to be they are in the process of working to set up a meeting to kind of give us some guidance on exactly what they want us to do. They were supposed to originally set up a phone call for today. They have since postponed that, and we hope maybe later on this week to visit with them to get some further guidance on exactly what they want us to do with that issue. In 1999, HUD did issue a notice of funding availability for the new rental assistance program. It was called Welfare to Work at the time. It has since changed names to just a Section 8 voucher program, and it targeted very low-income families. HUD did include at the time Indian housing authorities as eligible applicants, even though NAHASDA regulations clearly stated that we were not eligible to participate in that program. We did apply for funding along with other tribes, and we were funded. 8 years later, today, HUD has finally decided that we should not have received those vouchers, and we don't dispute that fact. There are approximately 220 families that this program assists. It's both a mixture of Native Americans and non-Native American families. Those families will not lose any assistance. Those vouchers all will be transferred to the Oklahoma Housing and Finance Agency. The only difference the landlords and families will receive is their check will come from OFA instead of from the Housing Authority. So there won't be any, we won't be cutting out any families. This doesn't affect the NAHASDA rental assistance program that we currently administer. We have and we serve over 1,700 families on that program a year right now. I think that is the report for this evening. It's been a pleasure to come to the council this evening and speak to you and deliver this report. Hopefully I can come back again. If you have any questions, I will try to answer those for you. Like I said, I'll also be back tomorrow to deliver the committee report. Other than that, thank you.
Any questions, comments for Mr. Cooper? Thank you for reporting. Next report is Cherokee Nation Enterprises, and for David Stewart is Gina Olaya.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Speaker, members of the Tribal Council, it's a privilege for me to be here to represent David Stewart and Cherokee Nation Enterprises as Mr. Stewart is out of town on business. I have submitted a written report and will be happy to answer any questions after this brief presentation. I would like to introduce you to a group of extraordinary C&E employees. This group of 85 volunteers is from across the 14 counties, and they head up a team that is committed to being actively involved in their respective communities and raising money for different charities, cleaning up the highways, and volunteering their time to make a difference. For example, for the most part, C&E does not observe Jeans Day or Casual Friday or, something like that. So these group of employees decided to get together and gain approval for once a month for all employees, even the employees that work on the casino floor, to wear jeans and T-shirts to work. So these employees once a month pay $5 for the privilege of wearing jeans and a T-shirt to work, and then these groups donate that money to certain charities. For example, we give to local volunteer fire departments, domestic violence intervention programs, the Red Cross, pet shelters, and breast cancer awareness. Within the fiscal year 07 alone, this group raised $28,000 just by wearing jeans and T-shirts to work. So that in itself garners applause. Some of the other community involvement efforts are that the Catoosa employees raised almost $19,000 for the American Heart Association. The Roland employees got together and raised $600 to send a needy child to camp. The West Siloam Springs employees raised just over $1,200 for Relay for Life. And several times a year, all of our facilities host blood drives and partner with the American Red Cross. And both the Catoosa and West Siloam Springs casino teams have joined the Oklahoma Adopt a Highway program, and once a quarter these employees go out on their own time to pick up trash around our facilities. We have a few of these members in the audience, so members of the Tribal Council, I'd like to introduce you to C&E's Community Impact Team. So in closing, I'd like to introduce you to Shelley Rogers, who is right behind me. She's from the Tahlequah Casino, and she wants to share with you a brief story of an unselfish act that was waged by a couple of Tahlequah Casino employees.
Hello, how's everyone? I just wanted to say at our last Community Impact Team meeting, I had the privilege to stand up and say a few words about some of our employees. Not as a community, but one person started this and the other. It just kind of went from there. Now I've had a total of 5 employees. I had Raina Waqua, Brooke Ballou, Sabrina Qualls, Dottie Dorsal, and Gina Edgar. They've donated their hair to Locks of Love, but you have to have at least 10 inches of your hair cut off to donate to that organization before they will accept it. So each one of those ladies have done that, and actually, they thought it's not a whole community, but the life that they may have affected for a little child who's had a cancer and wanted, some really good hair, really pretty hair, and that's all of them. I was so proud to say that I do work with them. Okay, thank you.
So I'd be happy to answer any questions if you all have questions.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Olaya? Guess not. Thank you, and thank you for bringing this group here tonight and for all the hard work they do and for caring for others. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next report is Mr. Collins, Brian Collins, Cherokee Nation Industries. Spread here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My report is as of October 31st, and I have preliminary numbers. Sales in comparison to 06, sales and profitability were almost very, very close and mirrored. Sales of $8.4 million with currently a conservative number of $250,000 in profit for October is what we're expecting to see. Local employment is running around 268 with an 82% Cherokee employment. Our next board meeting for those advisory members, it's going to be in Stillwell at 2 o'clock in the data center room. Some other things that are going on with C&I, we're having our employee Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow for any that the council would like to attend at 11:30 tomorrow in Stillwell. And then we'll be also having another one in Tahlequah, same time in Tahlequah at 11:30 at the telecom facility for any of the council would like to attend. We appreciate the involvement. The employees appreciate any time that the council or chief and deputy chief have opportunity to get out and see the employees and see what we're doing. As you know, we've had some good success with our programs. We had another good successful point with our Bell program, Bell Helicopter. Brought in their executive management team, a staff of 12, and basically we're on track to receiving additional orders. We're still in our first article build. I know, Meredith, as you're familiar with this, it's a huge undertaking of 360 plus cables, and as fast as we can get them built and approved, they want them as fast as they can get them, all we can build. So there's some good opportunities around the corner as building new programs with Bell Helicopter. And what we're finding is that success in the programs, more so than the job shop, more of the programs have the long-term success for the company. We have a lot of other opportunities in diversity that have come up that we're chasing as well, working with AT&T closely. And there's, again, a lot of their Tier 1 suppliers are working with us, and we see a lot of growth opportunity down the road. So this concludes my report. There's good positive things going on, and I appreciate your support. Is there any questions?
Any questions or comments? Mr. Collins? Good report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next report is Cherokee Nation Businesses, Brett Carson. Good evening.
Hello again, Madam Speaker. Well, nothing about the landfill at the moment. We talk a lot about the rather invisible things that CNB does as a holding company pursuant to the Jobs Growth Act that was passed by this council in 2005. And again, most of people in the Cherokee Nation probably don't appreciate all the things, but one of those, of course, is the capital allocation and the consolidated budgeting and consolidated financials. So I thought I would take this opportunity this evening, since we have just ended the fiscal year for all of the entities, to talk a bit about how on a consolidated basis the Cherokee Nation's business activities did. To that end, in fiscal year 2007, which concluded at the end of September, the various Cherokee businesses, including the casinos, Cherokee CRC, Cherokee Services Group, other investments, Cherokee Nation Industries, and the wide number of businesses that are underneath Brian Collins' direction, they did in combination $565 million worth of sales, bringing us operating profits of about $125 million. As you know, across the board, we have the vast majority of our employees across these enterprises are Cherokees, about 60% on average, I believe, across all of the businesses. And to that end, as we did that kind of revenue numbers, we paid out about $130 million in compensation and benefits. So you can see we have a big footprint when it comes to business activity in northeastern Oklahoma. Indeed, across the state of Oklahoma, there aren't that many businesses that are bigger than we are. At the same time, in the last 5 months since I have led C&B, we've looked at 54 different business activities, potential acquisitions. Some of those are still percolating along. Some of those have not. Some of them have been fully rejected, but we're actively looking at diversification and acquisition opportunities, while also leading various special projects like the landfill, something that I know many of us have talked about already today. So with that, I'd be happy to answer questions about activities at C&B, about the consolidated numbers, or anything else that the council might be interested in knowing about.
Any questions, comments for Mr. Carson? Thank you for the
Madam
report.
Speaker.
Next order of business is old business. There being none pending, we move down to new business. Item 1 is an amendment covering the compensation of elected officials, and that was Councilman Garvin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is working, but I'll try to speak loud. The purpose of this act is to set permanent guidelines by which Cherokee Nation elected officials may be compensated. Because 8 of us on the council are serving 4-year terms and 9 of us are serving 6-year terms, the way the legislation was reading, only those serving 4-year terms would be compensated or looked at. This will change that and bring us all together under the same umbrella. And additionally, this act changes the date from the end of the term, moves it up to the first 6 months of the term. So with that in mind, I make a motion, Madam Speaker, I make a motion this act be approved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor by acclamation signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
We have one no. Okay, item 2 is an act relating to the Native American arts and crafts, and that is Councilor Callan Watts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This act has, as presented in front of the council, has actually been retitled to be more appropriately Truth in Advertising, to do with Native art. So just to briefly introduce it, the act is to make sure, and if a item is labeled Indian artwork, that it be from an Indian, meaning a tribal citizen of a federally recognized tribe and not somebody that's adopted. And it would further go in that the Cherokee Nation shall not fund any group, either internally or externally, that creates Indian people through allowing folks to proclaim Indian art that are not Indian under the federal definition. And that it would have TARO maintain a voluntary registry of Native American artists under that definition, so that folks like JOM groups and others can easily access some of our smaller arts and crafts vendors or authors out there. And it would also cause the chief to publish an inventory of all the art owned by the tribe, meaning the government and its business entities. I'm sorry, I'm sick, so. And then the principal chief would also cause a label that would be a standard label to be created that would label all Indian art consistently, that was either sold through a government entity or a business entity. And it would also provide for civil action or relief by individuals that if this act was violated, then they could seek injunctive relief or damages through our courts, because otherwise it's so narrow. Any act that we does has to be an Indian on Indian land. So there's been a lot of work. This has been out there for over a year, and I'm actually to seek more cooperation. We passed out of rules unanimously because there's a lot of support on the council. But there's been a lot of wordsmithing done since it passed out of rules. So both for the idea of good legislation, in that it has changed since it came out of rules, and I would like to seek more cooperation for more individuals, because it's such a significant act. It's a step forward in fighting folks that try to steal our identity and culture. That I'm going to ask to table this back to the Rules Committee to give citizens an opportunity to speak on it. But I've already spoke with our Rules Chair, and we asked that be prepared to limit your debate or discussion to 2 minutes. If you have more than 2 minutes of conversation, please present it in writing, what your concerns or questions or documentation is. And that if you are representing a group, we ask that one individual represent that group. So it will be tabled back to Rules Committee this month at the end of November. And that would be, for everybody in the room, that's November 29th, a Thursday at 1 o'clock. And please have that limited. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
And seconded to table to November 29th. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Mr. Callan Watts. I'm sure the citizens will appreciate your seeking their input. Item 3, this resolution authorizes the donation of computer equipment. Councilman Cobb.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As stated, the resolution authorizing the Cherokee Nation to donate computer equipment to W.W. Hastings Hospital. This will adequately support a merged RPMS database, Vista imaging system, and more importantly, the electronic health records for inpatient unit at W. Hastings. I move for approval.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 4 is an amendment to the 2008 budget authorizing Mod 1. Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This budget modification increases the budget by $2,459,286, which are carryover funds for various programs from last year, plus $20,000 as a donation to the Indian Child Welfare for the kids' Christmas. And this would increase our overall budget this year to over $414 million. And I move for its approval.
Second with a friendly amendment.
Yes, please, Ms. Calmwatts.
That the stipulations on the angel tree money be removed. I understand that it's very explicit to the exact amount per child, which would limit the number of children as well as several other things. That it just be an amount to that committee to be distributed as they see fit.
It's still the $20,000 to the Indian Child Welfare. Is that correct?
I understand there were stipulations put on it that created. I'm confused because I remember adjourning the meeting, but then there's, I guess, video showing something else. So I just want to clarify that $200,000 is with no stipulations.
20,000.
Or 20,000. Sorry, 20,000 is with no stipulations. Thank you to ICW. Yeah. We're all going to have a Merry Christmas to this $200,000. Sorry.
I will accept that. Yes.
Thank you.
Who seconded that motion?
That would be me with the friendly amendment.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor with the amendment to approve this Mod 1 signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. By acclamation. And moving on down to announcements. Mr. Baker, you have an announcement?
I do. I have on Saturday, November 24th, there'll be a benefit at the Greasy Community Building for the Reverend Johnson Band. Many of you might know or might not, this is Gil Miller's father out of our office. His cancer has come back, and they're really needing to raise some money for medical treatment and expenses. And there'll be horseshoes and dinner and gospel singing and pie supper. And anybody that could find some time that evening, it would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Any other announcements?
Madam Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Hostin.
I just wanted to recognize that on November 3rd, the Bonita Indian Territory Coalition held its first annual event called Bonita Indian Territory Day. It was a great success. The Bonita Indian Territory Coalition is a nonprofit group. It is its chairperson is Lisa Trice Turtle, who's the Housing Authority. She did a wonderful job, as did that organization. Over 1,000 people in attendance, and we hope to have one every year.
Great. Thank you. Any other announcements? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion on adjournment? All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
We got 20 minutes to spare.
Mr. Break.